This is Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I'm here to talk to you about the one and only way to acquire a never-ending stream of buying traffic immune to changes in major search engines and social media platforms. So what if you really could do it? What if you could get an unlimited permanent stream of buying traffic from places like Google, Bing, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Amazon.com, and Yahoo, as well as all the major article directories, publicity outlets, and even major media publications. So much traffic that your sales problems disappeared and turned into operations problems instead, leaving you scrambling to fulfill the orders and service all the new customers, which is a very nice problem to have. And what if this machine was much more reliable and permanent than anything else out there? 100% white hat, so the search engines couldn't ban it even if they wanted to, and they won't. And what if you can get all this permanent buying traffic from search engines, social networks, blogs, forums, SEO, email, banner networks, and publicity without having to learn anything, as in absolutely nothing, about how these time-eating traffic monsters actually work? Well, my name is Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I've acquired millions of profitable visitors from my own campaigns. I have sold through my company's $20 million of marketing consulting to companies like AT&T, Lipton, Whirlpool, Panasonic, and more. I co-founded a 21-person internet marketing agency which managed millions of dollars in advertising, and that's important because I actually saw the dollars in to dollars out results of hundreds of online projects. It means I'm not talking theory. And my company Working Theories have been covered in dozens of major media publications like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, American Demographics, and many, many more. So I'm risking my reputation by telling you there's definitely a tested and proven way to get a never-ending stream of buying traffic that's immune to changes in the search engines and social media platforms. But the reason I'm doing it is that it's really the only stable and secure way I've ever found in a 24-year illustrious career in advertising. And once you hear it, you're going to say, you know, Glenn, that should have been really obvious, but it's not. And the reason it's not is that it's so counterintuitive, most of your competitors will probably reject it out of hand, which is great news for us because it leaves a lot more traffic, but it really is weird. In fact, it's so weird on its surface, I've really got to ask you to keep an open mind, or you'll probably dismiss it before you have a chance to benefit. So just promise me you'll watch the whole video before you press judgment, okay? And I want you to remember that this isn't a fancy here today, gone tomorrow new technique or trick that gives you a quick buzz of traffic and leaves you with nothing to show for it. It's a principle you apply to all your marketing from here on out so you can grow in a secure and stable way. So the secret to build a permanent stream of unlimited buying traffic is to do the exact opposite of what every other marketer is doing with their traffic. What every other marketer is doing is chasing cheap traffic. They're obsessing about traffic trends and SEO and techniques and search engine and social media algorithms, and it's like a never-ending quest for free or cheap traffic. And what I want you to do instead is to just focus on turning your visitors into buying better than everybody else in the market. I want your conversion rate from visitors to sales to be better, and I want you to make those buyers worth more in the long run than everybody else in your market does. So in other words, while your competition is going to keep fighting night and day trying to figure out how to pay less for their traffic, I actually want you to engineer the economics of your business so that you can afford to pay more. Now, I know this sounds nuts. Remember, there's a reason most marketers never get it, so please keep watching before you pass judgment, and I promise you'll be glad you did. And I'll prove it to you with a little thought experiment so you can see why this weird philosophy is really the only way to get an unlimited stream of buying traffic. Suppose you sell salmon. Let's say you sell wild salmon by the case, and for the sake of illustration, let's say that you and all your competitors are selling the exact same case of salmon for $100. You've got the same cost of goods and shipping and customer service and inventory. So we're going to ignore all that in this analysis. And I'll start in pay-per-click, show you how to get an unlimited stream of traffic there, but you'll see how this principle quickly extends to organic traffic, social media, publicity, and beyond. For those of you that don't know, the pay-per-click ads are the ones on the top left that are kind of shaded and all the way down the right-hand side. And the free listings, also called organic or SEO listings, are kind of on the bottom left as you scroll down the page. With that in mind, here are the hypothetical economics of the system that would give you unlimited traffic. All that's different between you and your competitors, remember, is that you're much better at converting visitors into buyers than them. And for the sake of illustration, let's assume that you're 3 times better. And if you convert 3 visitors out of 100, that means that you make $300 on 100 visitors as compared to $100 for your competitors, or on a per visitor basis, you're making $3 a visitor and your competitors are making $1. And the reason you can start buying your competitors' traffic out from under them and all the traffic in the market starts to tilt in your favor when you achieve this kind of economics is because you could go to your competitors and say, hey, why are you spending $1? I know you've got costs. I know you've got customer service. I know you've got inventory. I know you've got fulfillment. I know you have legal. I know you have all of this infrastructure headaches to deliver the actual product. Why don't you stop delivering the product and just send the traffic to me? And I'll give you $1.50. You're only making $1. I'll give you $1.50 and you don't have to do all that. And can you see that when the numbers get high enough that that becomes an irresistible proposition and where the traffic tilts in your favor? If they decide not to, what happens is they continue chasing cheap traffic and they become like these unhappy little fishmongers that are trapped in a small bowl with very little breathing room. And that's because chasing cheap traffic is a losing game. The cost of advertising tends to rise over time, so the margin gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it takes a tremendous amount of resources, time, energy, and money to find and acquire the cheap traffic in the first place. Plus, the cheap traffic tends to convert worse, so that the cost per sale tends to be the same or worse. And so it really is a losing game, yet most marketers continue to chase it day in and day out, when you really can have a whole ocean of traffic to swim in if you focus on turning visitors into buyers better than everybody else instead. Why is that? Well, it should be immediately obvious that even if you can't get your competitors to yield by offering them more money from their traffic, that you can outbid them for all forms of paid advertising. So when you go to Google, Bing, Amazon.com, the banner networks, magazines, direct mail, radio, TV, you can just simply pay more for the advertising and you'll get more of it. You can also go to the organic sites, the high-ranking existing sites on the left-hand side that I showed you, or the active blogs on relevant keywords and offer them more to place advertisements on their sites. You can afford to pay more for services. So you can pay SEO firms, pay-per-click firms, social media management firms, publicity outfits. You can pay them all more to get traffic for you. You can go to owners of popular YouTube videos who will happily sell you their traffic if you can pay them more than your competitors do. And you can do the same with people in Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter who seem to have captured the traffic that you want in those social media platforms. So you have a whole ocean of traffic to swim in if you focus on the conversion in your market, and you really can get all the traffic that you want. But what if it turns out that $1.50 isn't really enough in this situation to tilt the traffic in your favor in the market? Well, consider that the first transaction isn't the only transaction in business, and consider that if you focus on your conversion skills, that you can also convert more people to the back-end transactions. You can keep them longer in customers and generally make them worth more than others. So I don't want you to worry too much about the math on this slide. What I'm saying here is, in our wild salmon example, suppose that we also sell an auto ship program which sells them a case of salmon every month. And because you're so much better at converting customers, 30% of your customers wind up on that auto ship, whereas only 10% of your competitors' customers wind up on that auto ship. And you keep them for 8 months, whereas they keep them for 5 months, so that you get $800 out of 30% of the customers, and they get $500 more out of 10% of the customers. Don't worry about the math, but what I want you to see is when you focus on the conversion of your whole system, not just the front-end transaction, that the disparity between your value per single visitor, and I boiled this all down to a single visitor, the disparity between your value per single visitor and their value per single visitor gets wider and wider and wider. And it's that disparity that creates the unlimited traffic phenomena. It's that disparity that empowers you to outbid them, outbuy them, and just generally force them into a corner and make them into a traffic broker for you. So I saved the best part for last, and the best part is you can actually eliminate all your advertising risk when you focus on the conversion and achieve these kind of economics in your business, because there are affiliates, commission-only salespeople. You can generate an army of commission-only salespeople who specialize in every type of traffic you could possibly imagine. And so you can just forget about all that time and energy and even the money you spend on the traffic, because now you can afford to pay a really good commission and the affiliates will figure it out for you. And so at that point, you've eliminated all the advertising risk from your business, and no matter what happens, if your site converts really well, there'll always be someone to go get you traffic from it, from whatever source of traffic happens to be in vogue this week, this month, or this year. I hope you're starting to see this very weird marketing truth, which is that traffic is an illusion. What really drives traffic is conversion. Chasing traffic without conversion is like chasing speed in the car without enough gas in the tank. So you might find a good hill to roll down for a while, but you're eventually going to run out of gas and peter out. Whereas sustained acceleration and velocity on the internet is driven by conversion, not traffic. Conversion is the gas that gets you the traffic. Traffic is never a problem when you make more money per visitor than everybody else in the market, and it's always a problem when you don't. I don't mean to make it sound easier than it is, but with superior confidence in your visitor value, it's as easy as making a list of traffic sources, including your competitors, and then making contact and presenting irresistible financial offers. So why don't people get it? Why are most marketers busy chasing cheap traffic and shiny new objects and fancy new techniques to try to get some traffic for free? Because it seems like it should be really obvious when you look at the math, but here's the thing. Everybody seeks instant gratification, and building a site that converts takes some time, energy, and persistence. But human nature really wants that instant high. And that's why cheap traffic is so alluring, because you really can chase and get that quick buzz. It is out there, just like there are drugs out there, just like, cocaine. But in the end, that quick buzz is going to destroy your business. And I've seen that again and again and again. Yet most people don't want to hear that. That's an unacceptable answer. And so they never see this technique and never pursue it. And the second reason is that it's really counterintuitive to spend more as opposed to less on the traffic. And it's even weirder that the way to get more traffic is not to think about traffic at all, but to focus on conversion instead. So because of these two quirks of human nature, our secret is likely to remain with us for the lucky few who understand that this radically different approach really is the only way to build an unlimited traffic machine. In the coming weeks, I'm going to show you some very powerful ways for free to boost your conversion. And I want to show you one to get you started right away. Prospects' needs differ by traffic source. If you observe carefully, you'll see that people really want different things in different sources of traffic, and they have different language and concern depending upon where they're coming from. For example, people that are searching on Google are trying to solve problems, whereas people on Twitter are usually trying to socialize, network, or have a party. And the language that you use to match their needs is different. And one way to increase the conversion is to observe that language, needs, and emotional hot buttons in each venue and adjust the landing pages, ads, and copy to match so that your landing pages for Google are different than your landing pages for Twitter or different than your landing pages for Facebook. And there is a free utility online that will help you do this. You can start with one that works well for Twitter. And this utility is called TweetGrid, and it's a utility that lets you create a search dashboard that updates in real time, and it monitors all the tweets. And tweets are just whatever happens to be on people's mind or whatever they're doing that they, for whatever reason on the internet today, seem to be blurting out loud all the time, which I think is horrible for our society, but it's really good for us as marketers. We're going to show you a little technique where you can immerse yourself in only the tweets that are specific to your most important keywords. So in this example, I would choose two keywords like wild salmon and wild salmon recipes, and I would enter it into a tweet grid and create this kind of marquee that shows me the tweets that are relevant to those keywords all day long. And then what you want to do is immerse yourself in these tweets, just kind of look at it a few minutes a day, and you can grab that short URL to get back to your little, I think of this as like going to an online market where people are discussing your keywords and only your keywords. Then you want to just casually monitor it every day, striking language benefits and problems. Either copy and save it to a word processor or you take a screenshot. Here's what you do with it. You're looking at a raw tweet which said, "All right, my foodie friends, I'm taking some wild Alaskan salmon to dinner tomorrow night. What should I do with them?" That's what the person said on Twitter about wild salmon. And so I turned that into a bullet that would appear on my page that said, "Hey, taking some wild Alaskan salmon to dinner tonight, but not sure what to do with him?" Here's another one. Pan-seared salmon fillet on wild rice and pine nut pilaf, asparagus, and porcini mushroom butter. So someone was obviously just tweeting about something they were going to eat. And I said, how about a nice pan-seared salmon fillet on wild rice with pine nuts, asparagus, and porcini mushroom butter? See where I'm going? And here's another one. Maple glazed salmon and shrimp, grilled veggies, and wild rice. I'm addicted to Food Network. They have awesome recipes. So I turned it into this. Or some maple glazed salmon and shrimp, grilled veggies, and wild rice. Addicting. Create a salmon and wild rice soup recipe, a hearty Great Northern dish. And I turn that into, or even some creamy salmon and wild rice soup, a hearty Northern treat. So you see what I'm doing? And you put it all together and you create copy for your landing page. And I say something like, now this would be a landing page specific to Twitter, Taking a wild Alaskan salmon to dinner tonight but not sure what to do with him? How about a nice pan-seared salmon fillet on wild rice with pine nuts with asparagus and porcini mushroom butter? Or some maple glazed salmon and shrimp, grilled veggies and wild rice, addicting. Or even some creamy salmon and wild rice soup, a hearty northern treat. So I hope you can see how this is starting you down the road to unlimited traffic, because in the end, now remember, I've been around a lot of boardrooms and CEOs and executives of very large companies, and I want to tell you that with all the fancy terms and MBAs that I've talked to, my conclusion is that marketing is mostly asking people what they want and then giving it to them. And because the internet makes it possible to gather intelligence in one afternoon that used to cost $250,000 in 6 months to figure out, there are now dozens of ways to boost your conversion for relatively low cost or even free if you'll only take the time to focus on it. So by now you must be wondering, how do I get started quickly on my new conversion focus so I can build an unlimited traffic machine for myself? So as my way of saying thank you for your trust and your time and attention, I will be sending you some very powerful conversion cheat sheets and videos and MP3s and even articles, but there's really no substitute for live attention. And that's why I've organized my live webinars club to meet twice a month so that we can review site after site and look at how the 5 core conversion principles, it's something I call the golden glove of conversion. It's 5 principles that are in play every time money changes hands. You can memorize it like the back of your hand, and once you know this, you will never look at a website the same way again. It's everything I've ever learned in 24 years of advertising boiled down to 5 simple conversion principles you can memorize like the back of your hand. And twice a month we'll get together and we will go from talking theory to actually putting the principles into practice, which is probably the lowest cost way that I've ever made available to connect with me personally and interact with some very sharp marketers in a live environment, because I tend to attract a very smart crowd. I do hope you'll make it live. One of the secrets of my success is I've taken advantage of a lot of the group offerings that other marketers have made available, and I actually get myself to speak up and talk to them, and it's extremely helpful. So I do hope you make it live. It's at netprofitmachine.com, and you'll be pleased to know that you'll get the whole first month for only $4.95. That means you can pop on to the webinars and see how this all plays out in principle for less than the cost of a Starbucks latte in most cities anyway. I'm kind of a latte aficionado. And it's only $4.95 for the first month, but I also have 2 very special bonuses for you. And one of them is called Maximum Sales Bumps in Minimum Time. And Maximum Sales Bumps in Minimum Time is basically what it sounds like. Although I'm, as you can probably tell, a man of principle, and I prefer to teach people how to fish rather than giving them a fish, there are maybe a dozen or so very strong techniques and tips and quick implementation ideas that seem to work across market, and there's no reason that I shouldn't give you some fish too. So that is what the maximum sales bumps in minimum time is. It's kind of like, hey, you don't have to go through all the testing. I've already done it, and you can have them handed to you on a silver platter. So here's some fish for you. But what I am more proud of, and what is actually I think more important, is bonus number 2, called How to Build Your Persuasion Architecture. And here's the thing. My observation of the number one reason most websites fail is plain and simple a lack of focus. So nobody these days really bothers to create a simple sales argument in simple words that you can explain to an 8-year-old, and then they wonder why can't they figure out what to do with their site and why doesn't their site perform. And the problem is that the internet is really too good for advertisers. We all get enthralled with the flashing bells and whistles and the idea that these machines are going to move money around and electronically deposit money in our bank account. But the truth is that the ability to change images, videos, designs, layouts, everything you can do with the internet technology, it gets in the way of you making the sale if you haven't really thought through, well, what would you do if you were sitting down in the living room with somebody and explaining to them what you have to offer, why it's the best solution in the world for the particular problem they have, and how you could prove it to them? How would you do that? So what happens instead is people get lost in the technology, get lost in all the could-dos, they don't really understand what they should do, and they get stuck with the idea that maybe they're going to be able to hit on one of these technological aspects that's going to multiply zeros. But you can't multiply zeros. You might as well be rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic if you've got the wrong message trying to sell it to the wrong people. What persuasion architecture is a simple 2-minute verbal pitch that you build before you start on your website or start to rework your website. And it makes marketing much, much more powerful across the board for everything else that you do. It's how you implement the 5 simple things in a simple 2-minute sales pitch, the golden golden glove in a simple 2-minute sales pitch. And that's what I'm calling your persuasion architecture, because it really does become the foundation of everything that you do. And in this important bonus, I will take you through not just the theory, but very specific examples that show you how to build yours step by step. Of course, you get a transcript and, more importantly, a cheat sheet that summarizes everything. I've seen this turn the corner for quite a few people, and I'm very proud of it. It is free when you join for under $5 for the first month. So in summary, you get to meet with me twice a month in live group mentoring environments. You get bonus number 1, which is the maximum sales bumps in minimum time. That's kind of like the best of the techniques that I've discovered that seem to work quickly in most markets. There is how to build your persuasion architecture, which is the core principles that serve as the foundation for everything else that you will do. And it's all just a little under $5 for the first month, including the bonuses. Obviously, I am shamelessly bribing you because I know that once you get on board, you're going to be hooked. You're going to be excited about everything else that I've got to offer. I think you're going to be with me for a long time. So I would love to help you build your unlimited traffic machine. And I guess my question for you now is, do you want to be an unhappy little fishmonger doing what everybody else is doing, chasing cheap traffic? Or will you turn the corner with me, differentiate yourself from all the competition, and get yourself an ocean of traffic to swim in? Have a look at netprofitmachine.com. That's netprofitmachine.com. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. netprofitmachine.com. Thanks.